الحمد لله علام الغيوب المطلع على سرائر القلوب المتجاوز عن كبائر الذنوب العالم بما تجنه الضمائر من خفايا العيوب البصير بسرائر النيات وخفايا الطويات الذي لا يقبل من الأعمال إلا كمل ووفى وخلص من شوائب الرياء والشرك والصفا فإنه المنفرد بالملكوت والملك وهو أغنى الأغنياء عن الشرك والصلاة على محمد وآله وأصحابه المبرئين من الخيانة والإفك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا أما بعد فيقول الله تبارك وتعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون وقال عز وجل يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما وقال تعالى في الآيات التي تخبرنا عن ذم الله تعالى لحب الجاه من كان يريد الحياة الدنيا وزينتها نوفي إليهم أعمالهم فيها وهم فيها لا يبخسون أولئك الذين ليس لهم في الآخرة إلا النار وحبط ما صنعوا فيها وباطل ما كانوا يعملون وقال تعالى تلك الدار الآخرة نجعلها للذين لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا والعاقبة للمتقين وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام حب المال والجاه ينبتان النفاق في القلب كما ينبت الماء البقل وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام ما ذئبان ضاريان أرسلا في زريبة غنم بأكثر فسادا من حب الشرف والمال في دين الرجل المسلم أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Dear brothers and sisters, we start by praising Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. We praise Him for every blessing that He has given to us, known to us or unknown to us. We ask Him for His forgiveness, for His generosity, and that He gather us similar to how He has gathered us today on the day of resurrection and in Jannah amongst the crowd of the believers. And we ask Him that He send His blessings and salutations upon our beloved Prophet and Messenger Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam and upon His pure household and His companions. Dear brothers and sisters, from the blessings of our deen is that we were sent a messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam who guided us to a system of character which is as perfect as a system could have been, knowing that it was given to us directly from Allah Ta'ala, the creator of the human being. So the knower of how we were designed and how we were created, guiding us that how our parts of our body, how the limbs within us, how our motivations, our intentions, our external and internal drives should be navigated. Those directions were given to us directly through the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that a person whom Allah Ta'ala wishes good for, someone whom Allah Ta'ala wishes good for, Allah will open his eyes to the faults of himself. It's not a blessing to be blinded from one's faults. If I don't see any faults within myself, that's actually a greater sign of an illness, of a spiritual illness, of an ethical illness, of a psychological illness. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ taught us how to find those faults within ourselves. And He gave us a system, a complete system, which the scholars expand upon, on how we have human drives within us, natural drives. Those drives need to be navigated to the right direction. Islam isn't about extinguishing the idea of being a human. Islam isn't trying to make the human an angel. Otherwise, Allah Ta'ala would have sent angels. The disbeliever said, why did you send a Nabi in a human form? Why did you send a prophet in human form? He's like us. يَأْكُلُونَ وَيَمْشُونَ فِي الْأَسْوَاقِ. They eat and they walk in the markets. Why? The idea being that we are humans and we're not supposed to be angels. But how can we be righteous human beings? And so the Messenger of Allah ﷺ tells us about a drive within us known as the shahwa, desire. Within us there are several quwwah, several energies. Why do we do what we do? You have theories of human behavior. You talk to a psychologist, you talk to an economist, talk to a sociologist. They'll all give you different ideas of why, a political scientist, why did a human do what they did. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ told us of why humans act the way they act, telling us of a system that no one else can guide us to. Only Allah knows of. And that's our build, what drives our behavior. So one of the main drives being quwwah, shahawiyah, the desire. Either a person is defending themselves, preventing harm, or desiring something beneficial for themselves, good for themselves. This character trait has then many other characteristics which stem from it. One of the characteristics which I want to speak about, which if it's channeled correctly, it can be very beneficial. If not, it can be very harmful. It is the desire for honor, respect within society. Desire for a name, jah. Desire for honor within society, to have a name. And this at many times is necessary as well. And Imam Ghazali rahmatullah will talk about this. Right? When in our deen, we don't say anything, even wealth, for example. You know, when we speak about the dunya being accursed and things like that, it has an explanation for it. But even wealth, we don't just say that it's necessarily bad, intrinsically bad. Wealth isn't necessarily bad. The same thing with honor. Honor falls in the same chapter. Except Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says that jah is something which is even more powerful. There's two things, two commodities in this dunya. Either wealth or honor. He goes on to say. You either have wealth or you either have honor. Sometimes you can attain one with the other. But the one that's more powerful in his eyes, he says, is jah. This is why people have to be more cautious of it. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ, what did he say? That there are two things which are more harmful than if you were to leave two wolves free on a pack of sheep. Two wolves on a herd of sheep. You let them free on them. These two things are even more harmful for a Muslim, male or female, and their deen. It's more harmful than those two wolves could cause harm on those sheep. What did he say? Love of wealth and love of honor. Love of it. And this love then, it causes many illnesses. It causes many illnesses then. In a person's deen, it will lead them to doing things in the deen for the sake of show. Showing off, riyah. Now deen is even being done. Besides that, in a person's dunya, they become enslaved to society. Enslaved. Why? Because I'm going to do things which will make people pleased with me, happy with me, honor me, their fingers will point to me. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ said that a person who the fingers are pointed to them, تُشِيرُ إِلَيْهِ الْأَصَابِعِ, fingers are pointed to them, that person is in a very dangerous position. So the yearning to have this, to want this, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said it is very dangerous. And so the Prophet of Allah ﷺ tells us about this, that this desire, then it turns into other illnesses. And what are the causes of this? 4 things. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ said that there are 4 things that cause this illness, that the desire to want honor within society, excessive honor. One being the love of praise. And this is very dangerous. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ said that la tamadahu, don't create, and this is different from encouragement, and I'll explain that after. There are 2 things, madh, thana, totally different. Madh is excessively praising a person, their commodities, and behind that, there's a wrong intention. Number one, and we all know this, either being this, I'll make this person happy, he'll make me a part of their group. I'll gain friendship with them. Number two being, this person will benefit me in dunya. He'll bring something to me in dunya by me praising them. And many other wrong intentions which come with that. The Prophet ﷺ said that don't create this environment that you're praising each other for your clothes and your cars and your houses and all of these things to so much that you create a standard. And then people force themselves to abide by that standard. And they'll take risks in their wealth. They'll take loans to put gatherings and parties together. And to buy a certain house, to be in a certain society. Why? Because my name within society. It causes people to take very harmful decisions for themselves. So don't create this. لا تمادحوا. Don't create this environment. Second being fear of blame. That a person is fearful that what are other people going to say about me? Right? What are other people going to say about me if I'm dressed like this, if I act like this, if I drive a certain car? Third being desire for worldly benefit. That there's some benefit I will get out of having honor. I will be able to exploit people's wealth, use it in the wrong place. Now this can also be, all of these things can also be very beneficial as well. Why so? I mentioned that there's madh and I mentioned that there's thana. Thana is when we see someone doing something good and we make a dua for them. We make a dua for them sincerely, which is a means for their encouragement. And that person themselves doesn't desire that. And we'll mention that after. But there are 4 types of people when it comes to the person who's praised. 4 types of attitudes towards praise. But the righteous person is a person who when he's praised, he feels guilty. Why? Because I'm not worthy of this praise. I don't deserve this praise. But then why does Imam Ghazali goes even then more into detail, that why does a person yearn so much for this praise? Why do they like it so much? Why does it feel so good? And he mentions a few reasons, comparing it and making the equivalence to wealth. That the first reason being that just like when a person has wealth, the problem with wealth is that when a person desires some, they attain it, they desire more. The Messenger of Allah said this, when a person has a valley of gold, they'll desire a second. When they have a second, they'll desire a third. And it's the same with honor. And why does the human being then do this? Because there's fear. So there's a lack of tawakkul, lack of trust in Allah, lack in understanding Allah, aqeedah, faith. Everything stems from that. That Allah is the one who gives honor, He's the one who takes honor. Allah is the one who gives benefit, an-nafi', and His name is ad-dar, He gives harm. Nothing can benefit, nothing can harm. Nothing can bring these two things. Right? In society, right, if you look at the writings of modern contemporary Western philosophers, they mainly focus on 2 things. And some of them have even said that they're like lords within society. They're like lords, they're like gods. A very famous utilitarian, he said this, that humans have 2 things that guide them. The Lord of comfort and what our desires want. That desire, Allah Ta'ala addresses in the Quran, أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَىٰ. Have you seen the person who takes his desire to be his Lord? So one Lord is what brings us comfort. And so our society, our life revolves around this. Everything brings us comfort, but our lives are so difficult. We have all the technology that people didn't have in the past. So many of our daily things that we had to do in the past with our hands, we have machines for them now. Still we don't have time, still we're not happy. And the second being the Lord of pushing discomfort away. Pushing discomfort. And these 2 tactics are used in marketing, they're used everywhere then. They're used everywhere. So the Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi, he talks about then, why does a person want so much access of wealth or honor? They're already loved within their family, but they want more than that. They want a big friend circle. They already have a big friend circle. Now they want leadership. Why? It's because of fear. That there's always this fear that one day I'm going to lose it. Today I have 1 follower, I need 10 more. Why? Because what if I lose that other follower? Today 1 person recognizes me, I need more recognition. Because if I lose that 1 person, I won't have any recognition. The same with wealth. Why gather more wealth than what we need? The Messenger of Allah ﷺ showed us many stages, many times in his life, that he never kept what he needed for more than 1 day. It was what? To teach this idea. There's nothing wrong with preparing for a rainy day. There's nothing wrong for preparing for difficult times. But to give this idea that solidify within your minds the aqeedah, the faith, firstly, that nothing can happen without the will of Allah Ta'ala. So this fear is in there. For following, for recognition. That I need this following, I need this recognition. The second being, that we have within us many qualities. We have the qualities similar to the animals. That we want to eat, we want to drink, instinct. We have qualities that are influenced by the angels. We want to pray, we want to worship. We have qualities influenced by the shayateen, the devils. When we plot against people, when we plot evil actions. And then we have actions within us that are divinely influenced. And some of them are not befitting of us. For example, the Rabb, part of his characteristic is what? That he's high, he's lofty. It's not befitting of us as human beings that we show this quality. What's befitting of us? Tawadu', humility. Kibr, takabbur, highness, loftiness belongs to Allah Ta'ala, not to the human being. But sometimes human beings want to be high and lofty. So then this desire for honor, it comes from a desire for perfection. And perfection only comes from what? It comes from existing in a manner by which that being doesn't need anything else. That's a perfect being. And that only belongs to who? Allah. Only Allah exists and doesn't need anyone else. Only Allah exists with His perfect attributes. Only Allah exists independently. But then the human being desires kamal, perfection. And they become deluded. Humans become deluded. Sometimes they think they have kamal when they don't. And when they're praised with it, then it becomes even worse. It solidifies within that person. So this desire for kamal, for perfection, when we were never meant to be perfect. This is why Imam Ghazali says, then one of the cures for this is what? To just remember. Just like everyone else you think, right, is sinking in faults and you're perfect. What makes something unique and perfect? When it stands alone. The sun is unique, it stands alone. When a person starts thinking, I stand alone, I'm unique. This is why Imam Ghazali says, everyone has a little Fir'aun inside of them. Even if they can't manifest it, there's a little Fir'aun saying, Ana Rabbukum al-A'la. That I am lofty, I'm high. I am high and I'm lofty. So to suppress that little Fir'aun. So then to remember that if I can see the faults of all these other people, and if I can see that everyone is sinking in faults, then I must be the same as well. I must be the same as well. And so then Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi alayhi, he goes into many other discussions regarding this, on how it is harmful for people. But what are the cures for this? What are the cures for this? And he mentions by firstly mentioning 4 types of people. That there are 4 types of people when it comes to praise and blame. The first is a person whom there's no khair. This person, when he's praised, he actually will show his happiness, joyfulness with this. And this is not in a positive manner. But this is in a dangerous manner. That this person will take advantage of the following. He will, when someone praises him, he'll talk about it himself. That yes, this quality is within me. And so he's very proud of this. Very proud of this praise. And that person, when he's blamed, or if a fault is mentioned, he can't stand it. So what? He'll retaliate. He can't listen, not even for a second. I will not even lend my ear for a second to someone who's talking about something which is wrong within me. The second is a person who, this person, when he's praised, he may not say anything, but his ego inside is quietly growing. Quietly growing. And when he's blamed, he may not retaliate, but his anger is growing. His hatred is growing. And so these two types are not the categories that we want to fall into. And then he mentions two types. One of the person of lower spirituality, and one of the person of higher spirituality. The first being the person who he's praised or he's blamed, and it's all equivalent for him. It doesn't raise his ego, and it doesn't raise his anger. And this is a very good quality. This is a very good quality. This is the beginning of a person becoming independent, free from society, and truly then aligning himself with the fact that I need Allah's praise, and I need what makes Allah happy. That what the people say, it doesn't bother me. Then the person of higher virtue is a person who, when he's praised, he feels guilty. He dislikes it. He doesn't feel that he's worthy of these words. He doesn't want his reward in this life. He doesn't want that the people are praising him in this life and he loses his praise of the hereafter. He loses his rank in the hereafter. And when he's blamed, he not only listens. When he's told of a fault, he not only listens, but he'll actually reflect on it after. He'll actually reflect on it. That maybe this person saw a fault in me. Maybe this person saw a fault in me. And this is why one of the poets, he says, إِن قَدَحُوا مَا لَيْسَ فِينَا فَكَمْ مَدَحُوا مَا لَيْسَ فِينَا. If there are people that are, taking faults out, talking about my faults, and I don't have those faults. There are also people that are praising me for things which I'm not worthy of. So it becomes equivalent, what the people say about me. And so my brothers and sisters, when this illness is present, then it causes a void. That void is a lack of contentment then. A person can never be content. And that's a quality you want to achieve, contentment. That's a quality then, when no matter what the season is, the environment is, whatever the sales are, all of these things that are going on, you won't be moved to get beyond your necessity. You won't be moved to get anything that you'll be praised for, that you need to hold within society. So the whole point of this, and a lot of times we talk about riya in ibadah, right? Oh, look at that person, or myself, right? That person is doing good actions, but he's showing off. That's a next step, right? That's when we start doing good actions. When we start actually doing a lot of good actions, then we make that environment, then we worry about that. First, at least we need to stop living our lives for the sake of others, for the sake of honor, for the sake of name. That's the first step. And then a person is going to be able to make it to the next step, which is then make sincere their deen, ikhlas. That's the station of ikhlas. And that's an even higher and further virtue that needs mujahada and struggle. And all of this requires mujahada then. This requires a struggle to suppress. Psychologists will talk about how a person, once they hit the age of being a teenager, this is when they build an audience. They start caring about how I look when I enter the high school, how I look when I enter the college, when I enter the middle school. How are people looking at me? All the attention goes there, but none of the attention is on how am I aligning with my morals? How am I aligning with my principles? And above all of that, how am I aligning with how Allah Ta'ala wants to see me? If I'm doing all of these things to conform with society, but inside I know Allah Ta'ala is not pleased with me, there will always be a void. It will always be a void. And this is the never-ending cycle that the human being falls into of delusion. And he keeps running forward and trying and struggling and doing things, but they never find contentment. They never find contentment. Because this is cycle of wealth and honor, wealth and honor, wealth and honor. So it's about utilizing these things, my brothers and sisters, for the sake of Allah Ta'ala, with sincerity. And then always the consistent battle. It's a consistent battle. The scholars say, some of the greatest scholars, when they would be praised, one of the scholars, he was praised once, after teaching, he hid himself for a whole year. He didn't come out to the gatherings. He stayed in his home. It's a consistent battle in our deen and our dunya to dodge this desire to have name and to have fame. And this is for a person of every age. May Allah Ta'ala grant us understanding of this and make us from those people whom the Messenger of Allah said, blessed are those people who are taqiyyun khafi, a hidden righteous person. A hidden righteous person. And may Allah Ta'ala protect us from the fitnas of our time. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمد عبده ورسوله. عباد الله، إن الله قد أمركم بأمر بدأ فيه بنفسه وثنى به الملائكة المسبحة بقدسه وثلث بكم أيها المؤمنون حيث قال إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد بعدد من صلى وصام. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد بعدد من قعد وقام. وصل على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى الملائكة المقربين وعلى عباد الله الصالحين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصرهم في كل أرضك يا رب العالمين. اللهم اهد الناس جميعا يا أرحم الراحمين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. ولذكر الله تعالى أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. أقم الصلاة.